Well, talk a little bit about you know, what you were seeing in the supplement space that frustrated you enough to say, I think this needs to be done differently.
Yeah, so it kind of crept up on me because I wasn't a big supplement guy, but I got forced into it by being in this space. I started looking around and I looked at all these really well designed websites, really kind of popular supplements. No
Yeah.
companies will be named, but
Yep.
when you look at their claims, a solid chunk, more than half, had like tiny font, like 100 font sizes smaller with an asterisk, like here's our science. And then I Google it or I PubMed it, basically a search for all the index like medical literature for people who don't know. Uh, and I found nothing, or essentially what I would find is links to that company's releases. And then the company, so there's no real like index science in a reputable journal. But then I'd find a smaller chunk of companies that had studies, but those studies were looking at kind of surrogate outcomes or what we in science will consider outcomes that don't really prove the point, but they prove like an intermediary that kind of shows the point, but doesn't really show proof in the pudding. What I mean by that is, for example,
Yeah.
like digestive health. A lot of the companies that actually have studies that you can find, they're looking at like self-reported 9-point questionnaires from patients about like stool caliber, how regular they are. Like it's not really addressing any disease state or pathology. You have no like lab tests, like imaging, like for example,
Right.
it's really kind of a subjective scale that is useful, to some degree, but by definition, inherently, it's a weaker endpoint. It's a lower bar to meet, and meeting that lower bar is not as exciting to me. It doesn't, not as robust. Uh, so for example, like one of the things that I'm really proud of that I think does differentiate Lylah is we've, we're based on 13 randomized control trials for the cholesterol aspect, where cholesterol lowering is a biomarker. It's a lab test that you can measure and quantify. It's not a subjective symptom scale. You can show that after 3 months, the LDL goes down by 15 to up to 24%, depending on which of those randomized control trials you look at. I mean, they're smaller studies because these studies by definition are usually smaller, from the supplement space, but they're randomized control trials and they've got harder endpoints that you can measure and quantify.
Right.
Uh, so a lot of snake oil, a lot of paid marketing. There's a company that won't be named that for every influencer, they get the exact amount that someone would pay for a month of their product, and then they get half of that as a kickback every month for promoting.